Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Join this journey of wisdom and inner strength, where we learn how ancient philosophy can still guide us through modern challenges. Your support helps us grow and share more reflections that bring calm and clarity to your life. Failure. Even the word itself carries weight. It echoes in our minds with fear, shame, and hesitation. The fear of failing is not new. It's as old as humanity itself. But what if the way we see failure is the real problem? What if fear is not something to escape, but something to understand? The Stoics believed exactly that. Stoicism teaches that external events, success, failure, praise, rejection, are not truly within our control. What matters is how we respond to them. This ancient wisdom offers one of the most powerful antidotes to the fear of failure, the realization that failure itself does not define us. Our response does. To the Stoics, failure is not the enemy. Indifference to virtue is. They believed that fear arises from confusion, confusing what we can control with what we cannot. When you fear failure, what you're really fearing is losing control over outcomes. But Stoicism reminds us that outcomes never belong to us in the first place. Imagine a young Roman philosopher named Epictetus, born a slave. He had no control over his body, his wealth, or even his freedom. Yet he found freedom within. Epictetus taught that true freedom is the ability to remain calm and rational, no matter what happens around us. He said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about things." Failure, then, is only as frightening as the meaning we give it. Modern psychology echoes this Stoic insight. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most effective modern approaches to treating anxiety and fear, was directly inspired by Stoic thought. When we challenge our beliefs about failure, when we separate the event from the story we tell ourselves about it, we begin to regain our power. We learn that failure is not the end. It's information. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Most of the fear we feel before trying something new, the trembling before a presentation, the hesitation before launching a project, the silence before saying, "I love you," comes not from what will happen, but from the story we tell ourselves about what might happen. Our imagination multiplies the pain that reality rarely delivers. The Stoic approach invites us to confront these fears head-on through a practice called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Instead of avoiding the thought of failure, the Stoics imagined it. They rehearsed the worst-case scenario in their minds, not to feed fear, but to neutralize it. When you imagine the worst calmly, you take away its power to surprise you. You see that even if things go wrong, you will still be able to endure. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, often reminded himself in his journal that every day would bring difficulties, disappointments, and losses. Yet, he also wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." He knew that peace does not depend on perfect outcomes, but on disciplined thought. Imagine applying this to your own life. You're about to start a business, take an exam, or speak in front of a crowd. Your mind races. What if I fail? What if people judge me? The Stoic response is not to deny these thoughts, but to observe them without attachment. Ask yourself, what can I control right now? You can control your preparation, your attitude, your effort. You cannot control the reaction of others or the final result. Once you've done your part, the rest is beyond your hands, and therefore not worth your worry. This mindset transforms fear into focus. Instead of paralyzing you, the awareness of uncertainty sharpens your attention on what matters. It invites you to act from principle, not from fear. As Epictetus said, "Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." That does not mean Stoicism asks you to be passive. Quite the opposite. It calls you to action, to courageous, reasoned, purposeful action. The Stoic hero does not hide from life's trials. They walk into them with serenity, because they know that external success or failure cannot touch their inner worth. The measure of their life is virtue, not victory. Consider Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This echoes Stoic resilience, to see every failure as a step toward wisdom. Edison didn't control the outcome of every experiment, but he controlled his persistence. That's Stoicism in practice. Now let's pause and look inward. How many times have you stopped yourself from trying because you feared not being enough? How many dreams have you postponed because the possibility of failing felt unbearable? The Stoics would gently tell you, it is not failure you fear. It's the discomfort of confronting your own limits. And that discomfort is the birthplace of growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote that obstacles are not interruptions. They are opportunities to practice virtue. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When you face failure, you're not being punished. You're being invited to strengthen your character, to practice courage, to practice patience, to practice humility. Fear of failure thrives in silence and avoidance. It grows in the dark corners of what if. Stoicism shines a light there, says, look closer. Ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Maybe you lose money or time or approval, but will you lose your capacity to learn, to try again, to find meaning? Those are things that can never be taken from you. The Stoics often meditated on mortality, not out of morbidity, but out of clarity. Memento mori, remember that you will die. Sounds harsh, but it's liberating. When you realize how brief life is, the fear of failure starts to shrink. You begin to understand that wasting your life avoiding failure is itself a greater loss. The Stoics invite you to act now, to live according to reason and virtue, because time is the only thing truly slipping away. Modern society tells us that success is everything, that your worth is measured by likes, followers, promotions, or possessions. But Stoicism whispers a different truth. Success is living according to your values, regardless of the outcome. A failed attempt, done with integrity, is more honorable than an empty victory gained by compromise. So what does it mean to win as a Stoic? It means doing your best in accordance with reason and virtue, and accepting whatever follows with peace. It means knowing that failure cannot harm your soul unless you allow it to. It means replacing self-criticism with self-mastery. The Stoics didn't seek comfort. They sought strength. And that strength comes from living deliberately, from choosing to act rightly even when the result is uncertain. That's the paradox. The less you fear failure, the more you succeed, not necessarily in external terms, but in the richness of your inner life. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're learning a new skill, painting, writing, public speaking. The first attempts are awkward, the results imperfect. The non-Stoic mind says, I'm not good enough. I should stop. The Stoic mind says, this is how learning looks. Failure is not a sign I'm broken. It's proof I'm growing. That shift changes everything. To embrace Stoic courage, practice 3 disciplines: perception, action, and will. First, discipline your perception. See things as they are, not as your fear paints them. Then, discipline your action, do what's right, even if success is uncertain. Finally, discipline your will, accept the outcomes calmly, knowing that they don't define your worth. Together, these disciplines form a shield against fear. Seneca advised his students to rehearse failure mentally, not to invite suffering, but to reduce surprise. He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. When you imagine what could go wrong and prepare your spirit to endure it, fear dissolves. You become free not because life is safe, but because you've learned to face it. Freedom from the fear of failure doesn't mean indifference to results. It means engagement without attachment. You care deeply about what you do, but your peace no longer depends on whether the world approves. That's what the Stoics called apatheia, not apathy, but mastery of passion. It's serenity born of alignment between your actions and your values. In modern terms, think of athletes or artists who perform in the zone. They're fully immersed in the moment, detached from outcome, focused on the act itself. That's Stoicism in motion. It's the art of giving your best while surrendering control of the rest. When we internalize this, failure loses its sting. It becomes feedback. The Stoic no longer says, "I failed." They say, "I tried, I learned, and I will try again." This is not weakness. It's strength, the kind of strength that builds unshakable confidence, not from ego but from clarity. At its heart, Stoicism invites us to live with integrity, to act with courage, speak with honesty, and accept with grace. The fear of failure fades in the light of such purpose. Because when your aim is virtue, you can never truly fail. Take a moment now to reflect on something you've been postponing. A decision, a project, a dream. Ask yourself, what's really holding me back? Is it the external challenge or the internal fear of not being enough? Remember, you were never promised success. You were promised only this moment, to use wisely, courageously, and with gratitude. As you go through life, obstacles will test you, people will doubt you, and circumstances will change. But within you lies the same strength that guided the Stoics through storms, wars, and exile. The strength of reason, of character, of calm. When fear whispers, "What if I fail?" you can answer, "Then I will learn. Then I will rise again." Because the true failure is not falling, it's refusing to rise. To overcome the fear of failure, Stoicism asks us to look not outward, but inward. The real battleground is not the world, but the mind. You can lose money, reputation, opportunities, but if you keep your inner balance, you've lost nothing essential. That's what the Stoics meant by being invincible. Not because life can't hurt you, but because you no longer let it define who you are. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet he faced betrayal, disease, and personal tragedy. Still, in his journal, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Those words are as true today as they were 2,000 years ago. Every time we allow fear of failure to stop us, we surrender that power. Every time we choose to act despite uncertainty, we reclaim it. It begins with awareness. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before reacting. When failure, or even the possibility of it, appeared on the horizon, they examined their thoughts. What exactly am I afraid of? Is it real or imagined? Is it within my control? By dissecting fear with reason, they transformed emotion into understanding. They refused to be ruled by instinct. You can practice the same discipline. The next time fear of failure appears, stop and observe it. Don't judge it, don't resist it. Simply look at it. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid will happen? Often, the answers are smaller than they seem. You might discover that what you fear most isn't the event itself, but how others will see you, or how you'll see yourself. Stoicism helps you detach from both illusions. Epictetus warned his students, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's not an invitation to embrace ignorance. It's a call to free yourself from the tyranny of public opinion. Fear of failure often hides a deeper fear, the fear of embarrassment. But embarrassment is nothing more than a passing judgment, a shadow on the wall. Once you stop needing validation, failure loses its power to humiliate you. Stoicism teaches humility, the recognition that you are a student of life, not its master. Every failure becomes a teacher. Every setback becomes a classroom. The wise person is grateful not only for success, but for the lessons that come wrapped in pain. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The Stoic does not avoid difficulty. They welcome it as training. Think of a blacksmith shaping steel. The fire that could destroy the metal is the same fire that gives it form and strength. So too with failure, it burns, but it also refines. It removes illusions and forges character. Without failure, there is no resilience, no depth, no wisdom. The Stoics knew that to fear failure is to fear growth itself. In today's world, where perfection is worshipped and mistakes are broadcast, Stoicism feels revolutionary. Social media shows us highlight reels of success, but hides the struggles behind them. We see the mountain peaks but not the countless falls on the way up. The Stoic way is to embrace the entire journey, to honor both triumph and defeat as parts of the same whole. The Stoics remind us that we are not entitled to success, only to effort. You may plant the seed, but you cannot control the rain. You may speak the truth, but you cannot control how others hear it. Your duty is action, not outcome. Once you fulfill your duty, the result, win or lose, belongs to fate. That acceptance doesn't make you weaker. It makes you freer. Epictetus called this the dichotomy of control. Simple, but it changes everything. There are things within your control, your thoughts, actions, values, and things outside your control, reputation, results, other people's opinions. The wise person focuses entirely on the first and releases the second. That's where the fear of failure begins to dissolve. Let's imagine this principle in practice. You prepare a presentation, a book, a business idea. You do your research, you give your best. But still, things don't go as planned. The audience is cold. The book sells few copies, the idea doesn't take off. A non-Stoic reaction might be despair. I failed. I'm not good enough. A Stoic reaction is different. I did what was right. I learned. The outcome was never mine to command. Then calmly you begin again. This inner calm is not indifference. It's courage. It takes immense strength to act with full commitment and yet accept whatever happens. The Stoics compared life to an archer shooting an arrow. Your job is to aim with care, to draw the bow steadily, to release with skill. But once the arrow leaves your hand, the wind, the distance, and the target are no longer yours to control. Whether it hits or misses, you've already succeeded because you did your part with excellence and integrity. Now, think of the areas in your life where you hold back because you fear that miss. Perhaps you hesitate to change careers, to start a relationship, or to pursue a dream. Ask yourself, what would a Stoic do? They would act knowing that the outcome is uncertain, but the act of trying is itself noble. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This is the heart of Stoic inspiration. It transforms fear into duty, and duty into freedom. Once you understand that your value lies in effort guided by virtue, not in the applause of others, you become unstoppable. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what can I learn? You stop seeing failure as a wall and start seeing it as a doorway. In Stoic practice, there's also the idea of amor fati, the love of fate. It's more than acceptance. It's affirmation. It means saying yes to life exactly as it is, including the failures. It means embracing not only the path you planned, but the one you end up walking. To love fate is to love growth in all its forms, even when it comes through pain. Imagine looking back years from now at the failures that once terrified you. Many of them will reveal themselves as blessings in disguise, redirections that brought you to better paths, lessons that shaped your wisdom. Amor fati allows you to see that now, in the present, not just in hindsight. When you love your fate, you fear nothing. The Stoics also emphasized gratitude as a way to overcome fear. Gratitude roots you in the present moment and reminds you of what you already possess. Your ability to reason, to learn, to try again. Failure becomes smaller when placed in the vastness of gratitude. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, your fear begins to fade. Gratitude also aligns you with perspective. Think of the cosmos as Marcus Aurelius did, vast, endless, indifferent to human praise or blame. Against that backdrop, your failure is a tiny event, almost invisible. That might sound discouraging, but it's freeing. Because if your failure is small in the eyes of the universe, then there's no reason to magnify it in your own. You can simply continue your work, humbly and diligently, knowing that you are part of something greater. Let's take this reflection further. Imagine life as a series of seasons. There will be springs of opportunity, summers of success, autumns of loss, and winters of stillness. The Stoic does not cling to one season or resist another. They understand that failure is simply one of life's winters, a time of rest, reflection, and renewal. It's not the end. It's part of the cycle. In practical terms, applying Stoicism to fear of failure means practicing daily self-examination. At the end of each day, reflect as the Stoics did. Ask yourself, what did I do well? What did I avoid out of fear? What can I improve tomorrow? This simple ritual transforms failure from something to dread into something to learn from. It turns each day into progress. And when failure truly hurts, when you lose something or someone deeply meaningful, Stoicism doesn't tell you to suppress your pain. It tells you to accept it with dignity, to feel it without letting it consume you. Pain, too, is part of life's lesson. As Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." True Stoic courage is quiet. It doesn't seek attention. It's the courage to begin again after loss, the courage to try when no one believes in you, the courage to act rightly even when no one is watching. This kind of strength doesn't eliminate fear, it walks beside it calmly. When you apply this mindset consistently, you start to notice a shift. The fear of failure that once held you hostage becomes fuel. It sharpens your focus and purifies your motives. You stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress. You start living. The Stoics also remind us that failure is shared, that to be human is to stumble. Even the greatest minds failed. Socrates was condemned. Seneca was exiled. Epictetus was enslaved. Marcus Aurelius lost children and fought endless wars. Yet none of them let failure break them. They transformed it into wisdom. You stand in that same lineage of resilience. So the next time you feel the weight of fear pressing down, remember this: you are not your mistakes. You are the will that rises after them. You are the reason that refuses to surrender. You are the courage that chooses to act despite the trembling. That's Stoicism, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Every day you have a choice. You can let fear dictate your actions, or you can let virtue lead them. You can measure your life by outcomes or by integrity. The first path leads to anxiety. The second leads to peace. Let's end with a simple Stoic meditation. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes and imagine your fear of failure as a small cloud drifting across the sky of your mind. Watch it move. Watch it fade. Beneath it, the sky remains clear, vast, unchanging. That's your true self. The cloud will come and go, but the sky endures. You are not your fears. You are the consciousness that observes them. You are the strength that endures beyond them. You are the calm after the storm. And so, remember this: the Stoic path is not about becoming unfeeling. It's about becoming unshakable. It's not about escaping life's challenges. It's about meeting them with grace. When you live with virtue, courage, and purpose, you cannot truly fail, because every act done in accordance with reason is already a victory. So go forward. Begin that project. Take that risk. Speak that truth. If you fall, rise again. If you doubt, remember, even the strongest minds once trembled. But they acted anyway, and that is what made them wise. As Epictetus taught, how long will you wait before you demand the best of yourself? The world does not need your perfection. It needs your courage. The courage to try, to fail, to learn, and to continue. When you live this way, fear loses its grip. Failure becomes a teacher. And life becomes a journey of strength, serenity, and meaning. And that, in essence, is the Stoic way to conquer the fear of failure.